Oh, it's time. All right. I will now call to order the Thursday, November 13th, 2025 HWMA Board of Directors meeting. I will start by calling roll. I am here. Director Castellano.
Here.
Director Scalfani.
Here.
Director Madrone.
Here.
Director Wilson. Here. And Director Katie is absent, but we do have a quorum. All right. Moving on. Go to the consent calendar. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent calendar? Do you have any public comment on the consent calendar?
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Director Castellano and a second by Director Madrone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, there goes the consent calendar. Let us move on to oral and written communications. Do we have any public comment this evening?
Seeing none, Chair.
All right. Moving right along to approve update to policy 4080 credit cards of the HWMA policy handbook. Can we get a staff report, please?
Thank you, Chair. So in continuing with the vein of the past several meetings that we've had and the updates, we are continuing to roll through some of the low-hanging fruit policies that we have to get them in order for our upcoming year. So policy 4080 really defines the authority's purchasing policies. And this particular policy is in regards to our credit cards. So with input from Jamie Corsetti, CPA, she is one of the audit preparations that we use in preparation for the audits, along with Director Schwartz and our newly contracted auditors. We've updated a little bit of the language on the requirements for the backup that's required when you make credit card purchases. Some of that has been defined as including we get material to accounts payable staff that has the account numbers, the vendors, what was purchased, when, how, just a lot more information than what we've required in the past. Outside of that, it's a fairly simple and straightforward update to the policy. So with that, if the board has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Director Castellano, you have a question?
Oh, I mean, it's really just the reporting information that is being updated. Yeah.
That's correct.
But I really appreciate the thoroughness in which you're going through your employee handbook, and so good job. Do you have any public comment about this? All right.
Seeing none, Chair.
I move to review and approve the update to policy 4080 credit cards of the HWMA policy handbook, approving resolution 2026-07, a resolution of the HWMA Board of Directors updating HWMA handbook policy 4080 credit cards.
Second the motion.
All right. Motion by Director Castellano, second by Director Madrone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Let's move on to receiving presentation on 457 match update.
Thank you, Chair. So obviously this dovetails off our previous meeting and your direction to take a look at a couple different options. But first, as a quick refresher and a reminder, the HWMA and its employees are members of CalPERS, which administrates a defined benefit and pension plan for California public employees. The authority currently has two classifications, and they fall under the CalPERS Classic and PEPRA. In addition to this CalPERS plan, the authority offers several additional employer-sponsored retirement plans called 457 plans. These plans are optional, salary-deferred retirement plans, and are available to all HWMA staff, regardless of their CalPERS classification. So, as a reminder, how are these classifications determined? Originally, in November of 2008, the HWMA board adopted a resolution to begin making contributions to CalPERS for its employees. These contributions are split between what's called the employer and employee contribution portion, with HWMA at the time choosing to pick up both of those required contributions. In 2013, the California Public Employees Pension Reform Act, or PEPRA, was passed. This legislation directly impacted those new employees and introduced a significant change to the employee contribution portion. It removed the employer's ability to pick up the employee's portion, in essence requiring all employees hired after January 1st of 2013 to pay their employee portion, essentially degrading the previous benefit that the authority offered to its new employees. Over the past year, this board has requested staff to begin evaluating not only the current salaries and wages of staff, but its overall benefit package for current and potential employees. Most recently, at the September board meeting, you directed staff to accomplish several directives. The first being a poll of current staff, its participation rates, and staff level of interest in a 457 plan possible match. The second direction was to determine what, if any, local entities offer a similar benefit to these proposed matches. This slide shows a breakdown of current staff. While the authority has 35 FTE positions, several of those have been frozen over the last few fiscal years, leaving 30 FTE positions filled. This shows the breakdown of staff's years of service, along with the division they reside in. As you can see, 60% of our current workforce has been with the authority at or less than 10 years, with almost 25% having been with the authority for over 20 years. As noted in previous meetings, this leaves a significant gap in between those two bookend service years, with only 3 staff members taking up that space in between the two groups. Keeping that in mind, this is the result of the internal poll conducted regarding the 457 plan and potential match options. It should be noted that from our meeting in September to this evening, we have had an additional 3 staff members sign up for the 457 plans that we currently offer. With those additions, that brings total staff currently participating to 11. 2 staff members were interested in participating regardless of if a match was going to be offered, and an additional 4 would be interested in participating if a match did come online. Obviously, this still leaves 13 staff members that expressed little to no interest in the plan itself overall. Additionally, we conducted this survey in concert with our annual plan representatives visit and ensured all staff had the opportunity to discuss the plan's benefits with them and ask any questions they may have about the plan. So, in addition to the internal poll, staff looked at local entities that offered similar benefits. And it turns out what you see before you is all of the local entities that offer something similar to our 457 match plan. I will say the application and the amount can vary widely, with some being covered under collective bargaining agreements or other types of agreements. Some offer percentage matches from 1.5% all the way up to 8%. Some offer it to management staff only, while others not just match but give contributions as well. Several also offer or contribute to 401A retirements as well. With that information about the current participation rates and the significant amount of local entities that do have a similar match plan, I'd like to circle back to staff's proposal here tonight and provide an example of what it may look like. Either option works similarly, with the amount for the match the only variable. In either case, an HWMA staff member will contribute to their 457 plan, and the authority will match those contributions up to the percentage threshold of their annual simple wages. An example of the match is shown here. For the 3% match, if an employee's annual salary is $50,000, the authority will match that employee's contributions up to 3% of their simple wages. For this employee, it would be $1,500 annually. For the 5% match, that threshold would increase to $2,500 annually. This represents the total impact of either option. The board should keep in mind this shows the absolute maximum impact to the authority, with all employees contributing the maximum amount that that threshold would allow. As noted previously tonight, the current participation rate now sits at 11, up from 8 earlier this year. While we are hopeful a potential match would increase employee participation, it is extremely unlikely the full impact as presented here tonight would be realized. But if the board does move forward, staff will present follow-up details on proposed budgeting funding levels and ideas staff has talked about internally on the best way to budget for these potential expenditures. And with that, staff recommendation is for the board to discuss the options as presented and provide direction to staff. And should the board choose one of the options as presented or a variation of those options, direct staff to return no later than January of our board meeting with draft language for your consideration. And as always, I'd be more than happy to answer questions that you have.
All right. Those questions.
What's our turnover rate? You know, I think this kind of what this is all about is trying to have longevity in staffing because onboarding new people and training costs money, right? And there's morale issues as well that come out in productivity. So given that, what is our turnover rate kind of just in general?
So I think a little bit of that speaks to kind of the bookends of seniority that we have. Mm-hmm. So we have 60% of our staff that has been with us 10 years or less. Yeah. And that's obviously a pretty big gap. Yeah. But we also have 25% of our staff that's 20 years or older with the authority. Yeah. We currently have 3 employees that we've retained longer than 10 years, but have not been around, to be honest with you, prior to the authority's buyout of Waste Solutions Group and the transfer station. Yeah. So a majority of those employees are almost predate the authority. Mm-hmm. I will say that turnover has not been nearly as large, one, since COVID, but a big factor in that is the closure of the recycling center. Mm-hmm. The recycling center was a very large turnover entity for the authority. Mm-hmm. We've been pretty lucky in the past 3 to 4 years. We have not had a ton of turnover on the entry level staff. We've obviously hired new staff. We've frozen several positions as well. So if staff has left, we haven't replaced those positions. We've frozen them until the future needs of either an organics facility or something else. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to look at the last 3 to 4 years and get a real sense of our turnover rate because of how we've handled some of our staff and how we've handled our operations as a whole. But I still believe that the years of service kind of spell that out, is that we have 60% of our staff is less than 10 years.
Yeah, there's that big gap that they're here for 10 years, and then not many of them are going beyond that, other than those that have been here for 20 years, that kind of thing. So, well, thanks. And yeah, the data is here when I look back over it and stuff. Do you think this would have an impact on longevity if we offered matching?
I think it would be beneficial no matter what. I think not only would it be beneficial to increasing staff's willingness to stay with the authority because of increased benefits, it would increase our potential for bringing in new employees. It would add another feather in our cap of benefits and pay that we offer. Mm-hmm. I think just wholeheartedly more benefits is always a plus for either your staff or potential staff, no matter what.
Yeah, and I think the arguments can be made that the money, as I said, can be saved in training, onboarding, morale, all those other factors that cost money, literally. And yeah, the part about the recycling staff, lower pay and pretty gnarly work.
Correct.
Just to put it simple, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your questions. Let's see, and also it's really great that through part of this process, more staff have already joined in to participating, which is, I think, just an added benefit. I just want to make sure I remember correctly. Was it 2 years ago? We kind of did a 7% salary increase across the board and implemented an annual 3% cost of living adjustment.
I would have to take a look, but I know for certain that we don't have an annual 3% adjustment. We developed language based off West Region worker CPI. So we take the West Region worker CPI 12-month average and we cap that at 4% or for 5%. So if it's more than 5%, anything over carries over to the next fiscal year.
Okay.
Anything under, they get it directly where it was at. Yes.
Okay. So there is an annual
Yes.
adjustment. Okay. And then it seems like, though, of course, like there's always ways to increase the retention rate, but at the same time, there isn't necessarily a problem or we're not losing staff currently.
Yes. I would say that we are not currently losing staff, with the exception that any staff that we have lost, those positions have been triaged because we've frozen them over the last 3 years in preparation of the organics. Yeah.
Okay. And then, typically things like this come out of collective bargaining processes. And so I was just curious, is that what this is coming out of, or has there been any, in terms of like, in other spaces that I'm, participating in this kind of work with, has that been part of the process?
For us?
Yeah.
No, we do not have a union. None of our employees are part of a collective bargaining agreement. No.
And have like folks that are receiving benefits. Is there? I don't know. I guess I'm just curious in terms of like the potential for added members. Have they been with the organization for a long time? Are they newer employees? The 4 who said that they would only join if there was a match of some sort.
So they would be on the newer scale. The majority of individuals that are participating outside of the 3 that just recently were added are more senior staff members. They would be in the 15 to 20 year range, I would say.
Those
Yes.
additional
No.
4 people.
I'm actually going to direct that to Director Schwartz because she's
Okay.
definitely going to know
Okay.
better than I will.
In terms of the employees that would only join if there was a match, 2 of them were in the under 10-year category, and the rest of them were not. The rest
Okay.
of them were more senior employees. And I just wanted to also point out, if you look at this column, the 0 to 3, in terms of staff distribution, with 6 folks being hired in that group, 2 of those people came to us from other government entities, which is pretty common. And they both had existing 457 plans that they were able to roll into ours. And that was a pretty significant selling point in terms of promoting the job to them and discussing the benefits. That was a big draw for those people. So I think that that's an important part of recruitment, because we are likely to get applicants from other local agencies. So if they can roll their 457 over from the other agency, that's a big bonus.
Great.
Thank you.
Were they other municipalities?
Yes. Well, one was a city and one was a county agency. Yeah. So local municipalities.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked for a JPA for 5 years, and it was a big draw, and it kept me there for a really long time. It was a great benefit. Where does it fit into our budget is what I want to know. Is it something that we can afford? Is it something that we're going to have to raise rates even higher than rates that we're already raising?
I think the best way to answer that question is to look at the slide, the total impact slide that shows how much a match would impact the tip fee, and understand that that assumes that every employee contributes their maximum amount. Every employee participates, and every employee participates to their max. Because if an employee only contributes 1%, then we only match 1%. It can be up to 3, but they may not contribute that much. And then you look at the slide that shows what our current enrollment is at about 37%. Maybe it goes up a bit to 50%. So I would look at this slide, the total impact slide, and say, it could be 90 cents on the tip fee, or it could be half that, because we may not have full enrollment.
But is that on top of the increases that were already?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way for the authority to absorb costs like that simply because of how we budget and how we retain money. So in general, annually, we budget to 0 costs unless we need a reserve fund or a specific reason. So any additional costs are always going to be borne onto the tip fee. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't find other places maybe to shred some of that down. Maybe we need less in reserves. Maybe we need less operational, although that hasn't been the case recently. But yes, any additional expenditure is going to be borne on the tip fee simply because that's the only way that we collect fees.
I mean, I'm just thinking that in my jurisdiction, we have to raise water rates. I know electricity power rates are going to go up, and then we're going to have to bring our waste rates in front of us again. So that's the only thing that gives me a little bit of hesitation. But yeah. Does anybody else have any questions?
One more comment, please. What doesn't show is what might be the savings, again, in terms of longevity, less training, less onboarding, all those things. I mean, they don't really quite show up in the budget per se, really, do they? But what happens is if we do have to raise the rates to do this, those things will show up over the long term in terms of cost savings that will affect our future budgets in a positive way. Yeah, but it's hard to capture, right? We all know it's true, but it is hard to capture. And I'll just say, if we stop using these gold plate paper clips, then we'll have the money right there. So sorry. These are beautiful. And they're not gold plated for the public, just making a joke, sorry.
Yes, for all you out there watching
Yeah.
this very exciting
On
meeting.
camera.
Yeah.
If the chair would allow to dovetail off of what Director Madrone said, and Director Marias would be intimately familiar with this. We have staff members that operate $500,000 pieces of equipment every day for 8 hours a day. Yeah. If they make a mistake, that $62,000 that you see as the maximum impact for that 3%, that's going to be written off in a day, if we're lucky, if that staff makes a mistake. So I will say, to dovetail off of Director Madrone's comments, retaining our staff and not having to continuously train them in operation of equipment like that is beneficial. It may not be called out specifically, but we see it every single day in operations.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, and it's not just the equipment, it's workers' comp and the employees and injuries, which are also one fell swoop, boom, you've got a $50,000, $100,000 claim real quick. So thanks for that, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Do anybody have any public comment before I bring it back? All right.
Seeing none, Chair.
Okay, so you want from us a recommendation to go with, to do 3% or 5% or nothing? Is that what you're looking for?
That is correct.
All right. Dr. Castellano?
Sure. I am sympathetic to staff and for sure support, additional work to retain staff. At the same time, as you all know, we just increased our rates significantly for the community. I am elected by that community, and especially in the current economic climate where people's benefits are getting cut, people's food is getting cut, but at the same time, everyone's bills are going up. I don't feel like I can move forward with this at this time, and be responsible to the people in my community who are struggling financially. I would be willing to look at this again, or, if we didn't have to raise rates, but I don't feel like I can move forward with it right now in this current political climate where like there's just a lot of economic uncertainty. You know, I mean, like we just went through a month of people not knowing if they were going to get their food benefits. You know, at the same time, like trash bills don't go away, right? You know, like just because you don't get your food benefits that month. So, you know, I'm definitely sympathetic to retention, but I also know that we've worked really hard on that over the last few years in terms of, you know, like addressing cost of living, addressing like wages, and there has been significant movement forward in that space. You know, if the economy and like this current like just kind of rise of cost levels out, I would totally be like more sympathetic. I just don't feel like this is the right time to be like, well, we're going to raise rates again, even though we just did it 4 months ago or something, you know. So I don't feel comfortable with it right now.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. You know, we had on our agenda a couple weeks ago that we were going to raise our water rates, and just because of those very same reasons, we decided it was just not an appropriate time to do that. So I totally agree with Director Castellano. We can bring it back in, you know, maybe after midterms.
Well, I absolutely appreciate what both of you are saying, and I feel all of those things as well. But as I've mentioned several times, I actually think there's cost savings in doing this. That's just my personal opinion. Is there a way to bifurcate this and basically agree to a 3% now, but not raise rates, and see how all that pans out? And then depend on how many people sign up, because a lot of it depends on that. Like you said, it could be 67,000 if everybody signed up at a full 3%. But more than likely, we're only going to hit half the people, so it's 30,000. That's not a lot of money, and it may very well be able to be absorbed within our existing budget. I don't know that, but I'm just wondering, would it be okay to do a two-step process here?
So
Not your preference, I'm sure.
a couple things. One, obviously, staff would recommend to implement this in our next fiscal year. This would not go into effect now.
Okay.
We do have a employee benefit and rate stabilization reserve that we've never used. It's $150,000. We could utilize that reserve to do something like that, but my hesitation would be if the board moves forward with that and we get, I don't want to provide a benefit or provide something that then gets taken away in short term, if that makes sense. So we do have a mechanism to test the waters, I guess. But the issue is no matter what, at some point in time, it is going to be a net additive to the tipping fee.
Yeah.
There's not really a way for us to avoid that.
Understood. Well, thanks for that. You know, being a county representative, we have a lot of unions. Almost everybody's unionized in the county. Not everybody. Some don't join the unions. But for the most part, they're there. And I got to say, if we were unionized, I don't think this would be even a question of offering this benefit. It would be pretty automatic because the union would demand it, frankly, as part of their compensation package and stuff. And we'd probably have to go along with it. I wish we could go ahead and do this, and I would be supportive of doing that. But I don't want to make a motion that's not really supported by the rest of the board. I do appreciate the efforts here. And I'm thinking, you know, under the board member reports, I was thinking it'd be nice to get an update. I'm jumping ahead, apologies. On where we're at with organic green waste, with green waste itself, with recycling, with all the pieces to the puzzle that this district is really, you know, dealing with. And for a while, we haven't really talked about that stuff much. You know, some of it, the state delayed because of the supply chain on getting the trucks and this and that and everything else. But it'd be really neat to get that update, and maybe as part of that, reconsider this item at that time, because I'd like to kind of catch up with the big picture. I was off this board for a little while, and maybe you guys were getting updates and stuff, but it would be valuable, I think, for the public and for us to kind of get caught up with where we're at on all those pieces, because those are absolutely going to affect all kinds of things like budgets and staffing and facilities. And all
Yeah,
that.
and
So
that's-
that's the
that- I
suggestion.
mean,
that
that's a-
maybe we table it temporarily, do that update, talk about that, and maybe then decide to bring this back or not.
We did request that at the last meeting updates. For
Oh, we
those
did.
Yeah.
things,
Okay, great.
Yeah, and so that will be coming in January.
Oh, great.
We
Okay.
do have the RFP as well out for the feasibility study that we should have back and most likely have results by the January board meeting as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I do feel like organics, that's a whole other thing that will add to be. So I'm going to say let's not go forward with this right now. If
I was just curious, is how you arrived at either a 3 or a 5%. Is 2% an option?
Well, I think obviously we always leave it up to board discretion as well. Staff makes a recommendation. 3 and 5% were kind of the normal-ish ranges that we looked at. Like I said earlier, they range from anywhere from 1.5% to 8%. So traditionally, 3 and 5% seem to be the most common that we looked at across the state as well. We had one of our 457 reps give us information in the early stages on other entities and reached out to them as well. And then we took a look, obviously, internally or locally, as this board asked. But we always have at board discretion as well. You're free to make any changes or alterations to staff's recommendations as you see fit.
yeah, I just know at this point I could not sit in front of my constituency and present this and feel okay about it. So
Last comment, if I might. I appreciate the work on the polling. I mean, I think that's significant. And we asked for that. We got this great data. When we look at this, currently about a third of the employees are participating, 11 out of 30. The polling tells us that there's only 2 that are really interested, and maybe with the match there's 4 more, so there's 6 out of 30. So when we look at that $60,000 number, that doesn't really account for the fact that 11 are already participating, for one thing, right? Because that's assuming all 30 participate, it would be 60-some thousand. But we're already paying for the 11 at this point already.
No,
No, we don't
No.
have any match with them. They're participating, but we don't have a match.
they're participating, but we do not
On
match.
their own, they're participating.
is
They'd
correct.
love a match.
Yeah.
but they're-
Yeah.
Okay, so it really is 60 if it's all 30, but really what we're looking at here is maybe 16, a little over half. So we're looking at $30,000 here, right? That's the number we're looking at. And I agree, we did just raise rates. People are hurting.
And that's a
all
big
that.
if.
But again, I
Yeah.
mean, the reality is that it's not 60 probably, based on our polling, if that tells us anything, which we asked for it. Those are the results. So, but again, I think the board majority is probably leaning towards not wanting to do something right now. I respect that. And
Director Wilson, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Well, I just, what does it really benefit them? Is this just more like added to a 401k?
That is correct.
Is what kind of what it's.
Yep, it's the retirement plan.
It's for a long, it's a long time vision. And,
Mike, Frank? Thank you.
all right. So it's the longer picture, and the group that's in there that's members of it. I'm not sure if I'm following this graph right. How many are under the 10 years or the 15 years? Are we adding those all up down here at the bottom
So the top numbers are just a dispersion of our
of the year?
years of service and the divisions. And the bottom is just simply a poll of currently participating, those interested and interested with a match only.
So it's the 6 plus 12 plus 2 plus, or it's all the way across here. It's the 30.
That's the total employees that we currently have, the 30 FTE filled. That's our total employee
And the
count.
37% are currently participating.
That is correct.
I actually don't see it was some of the stuff that was brought up about what we want to, some issues we want to resolve. I don't see it being an issue to wait. Like we're going to go in January, we're going to get a better update. And so actually, I guess I'd say it's kicking the can out, but I don't think we're going to lose employees over the fact. I would just assume maybe that we wait to January and see what we're doing rather than jump ahead here and get this up and get a handle on our next budget, what we're talking about raising, because ultimately we're looking at raising tipping fees is what we're going to do to support this.
Yes.
And you know me from before. Some of this stuff is on this garbage thing. I just think is going to get expensive. We want to treat everybody right, but it's tough. It's a tough call. I just assume wait, make it simple for right now, at least till January, and see where we are.
Do you need any more direction from us?
I don't believe so, Chair. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any final words before I move on? All right. Thank you for a robust discussion. I appreciate that. All right. Let's move on to board member reports. Does anybody have anything to report? All right. Let's move on to executive director report.
Thank you, Chair. So as mentioned earlier, we have the organics processing feasibility study, RFP, currently out and circulating. We expect that back by the end of the month, and we expect to have a chosen proposer probably to you by the January board meeting. Additionally, at the January boarding, we will have Director Marias, our operations director, giving you another look inside an operational activity and just keeping you abreast of what we do on a regular basis. Other than that, that's it, Chair. Thank you.
I really look forward to that. Thank you. Yeah. And we have no meeting in December. So happy New Year, I guess. And I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.